Good evening. This December 7th, 2017 regular meeting of the Fairfax County School Board will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence, and the performance of the national anthem by the South County Middle School Symphonic Orchestra under the direction of Rachel Myers.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, our talented students from South County Middle School. Thank you, Ms. Myers, and thank you, parents who brought your wonderful students to us this evening. Congratulations, students.
Is Principal Manning in the crowd? No. Okay, thank you.
In order to comply with Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, it is necessary for the board to certify that since the Fairfax County School Board convened a closed meeting on December 7th, 2017, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board during the closed meeting. Is there a motion? Moved by Ms. Corbett-Sanders, seconded by Mr. McElveen. All those in favor? It is Evans, Wilson, McLaughlin, Polchek, McElveen, Corbett-Sanders, Strauss, Moon, Derenak Koufax, Keys Gamara. Abstention, Ms. Hines. Thank you. That motion carries. One announcement, Mrs. Schultz will be absent this evening. Other announcements before we begin. If you would like to review a copy of the agenda and any agenda item that is being discussed tonight, that information is on the table by the auditorium entrance. Tonight's agenda is available by going to the school board on the FCPS homepage and selecting board docs upon upcoming school board meetings. The meeting is also being streamed live online. Select school board from the full menu, then click on the Watch Live button on the school board meeting webpage. And please turn off and silence your cell phone. I now would like to call on Ms. Corbett-Sanders for a recognition of the South County High School Marching Band.
The South County High School Marching Band traveled to Allentown, Pennsylvania on Sunday, November 5th to compete in the U.S. Bands A-Class National Championships. Out of 20 competing bands in their class, South County placed first and received captions awards for having the best visual performance, best overall effect, and best percussion. This is the first time in 9 years that the band has competed in this show and received this award. This capped off an undefeated season for the Marching Stallions, who placed first in their class at the U.S. Band's Northern Virginia Regional at Herndon High School, the U.S. Band's Eastern Panhandle Classic at Washington High School, and the JMU Parade of Champions. The band also received a superior rating at the Virginia Band and Orchestra Directors Association, VBODA, State Marching Band Assessment, the first step towards receiving the organization's Honor Band Award. These awards are a testament to the hard work the staff, parents, and especially the students put in throughout the season. They worked countless hours to put on great performances and bring back this amazing recognition to the band program and school. I would like to thank my colleague, Mrs. Karen Keys-Gamara, for her support of the South County Band. She was there to welcome the band when they returned from their great victory. Thank you, Mrs. Keys-Gamara. And at this time, I would like to invite the South County staff and band members in the audience this evening to join me at the dais for a picture with the board.
Congratulations. Yes, congratulations, guys. Wow. I cannot be behind.
Video dans une
Oh, well, thank you. How about you? Yeah.
Do you want to turn your light off? The next order of business is citizen participation. Tonight, we have 6 speakers have signed up to address the board. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes. The school board will not hear statements involving issues that have been scheduled for public hearings, such as capital improvement program, budget, and boundaries. Complaints regarding individual students or school-based employees should be directed to the appropriate school principal or other school official. Speakers should refrain from using personally identifiable information in connection with an individual student. Speakers are expected to deliver their comments with a decorum and respect appropriate to the conduct of the public's business. Please be mindful that there are often young children in attendance at these meetings or watching at home. So language should be appropriate for all age levels. Thank you for your cooperation, and thanks to those who have come to speak to us tonight. Our first speaker is Parker Brown. Parker Brown. Okay. Tina Williams.
Happy holidays, school board members and Dr. Brabrand. I'm Tina Williams, president of Fairfax County Federation of Teachers. I'll be speaking on behalf of my members. Our members continue to express dislike over the calendar proposals. The majority feel that C is the best choice. Sufficient notice to change the start date was not given. Employee input at each juncture is needed due to the impact on families and the community. Also, 6 weeks delay in receiving a first paycheck is an unnecessary burden. FCFT strongly advocates for fixing that process. In terms of subs for coverage of teachers, paying retired teachers fairly for their classroom expertise will allow them to return to FCPS and pick up those substitute teaching positions. Thank you for listening to blackout dates. Members felt that blackout dates tied to professional development and early release dates were disrespectful, a poor use of school time, negatively impacted work-life balance, and did not serve the community. That larger issue being the appropriate use of professional development and planning. Here's a member-related concern. My school calendar says we're scheduled to have a staff meeting on January 25th. This day is a 2-hour early release for students. Regulation 4421.17, Section 4A, Paragraph 4, specifies in its heading that a 2-hour early release is teacher-directed time. Regulation 4421.17, Section 4A, Paragraph 3, defines teacher-directed time. Here is an example of administrators not following through on school board regulations created to protect elementary planning time. This may be a widespread issue as we move farther away from the origins of these regulations, which were created under Dr. Garza, unquote. Our members do support tuition reimbursement, but they disagree with offering only one university for the cohort. This limits educators that live far from GMU or have needs for online classes. We ask that you consider more options, and this is a great start. Members would like to see the menu of options for BA lane proposals, as was requested by our school board last month during the work session, yet nothing has been presented. Dr. Brabrand, I appreciate your strong support and commitment for bringing teacher salaries up to market. You have consistently expressed your support for educators, and I thank you. I also asked you please to address pay scales for our IAs and support staff whose salaries fall well below the median household income of $98,563 in our area. At the legislative briefing, you stated that 80% of police officers don't live in the county, referring to the cost of living. I wonder how many Fairfax County IAs, teachers, counselors, custodians, and office staff also are not able to financially live in the area that they work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Beth Tudan.
Hello. I'm Beth Tuda. I'm the Fairfax County PTA president. I saw several of you the other night at Gatehouse when we had our first advocacy day, so thank you for that. I'm here to discuss like Tina, the FCPS 2018 to 19 school calendar. So first, I was part of the calendar committee and cannot speak highly enough of all the different people who participated in that. Chase Ramey, who led it, did a great job with it, bringing us all in and having lots of different communication. That being said, the FCCPTA did conduct a survey about the options A through C that were released, plus option D that you had created. And well, congratulations from the survey participants. School calendar D was the favorite of the different people who participated. We had 5,500 responses, so more than 5,500. So there was a lot of interest in this. So some recommendations from the survey, which we have posted on our website, include post-SOL days should be kept to a minimum. When changes are made to move the calendar forward, so before Labor Day, try to adjust the calendar as well. SOL dates should not automatically be moved forward as well, because then you end up with the same problem of having too much time at the end of the year. Seek broad community input on potential calendar changes as early as possible. Plan calendars more than 1 year in advance to allow for plans to be made. Absenteeism is high right before Thanksgiving, so try to have 3 days rather than 3 school days off, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rather than just Monday and, you know what I mean, Monday, Tuesday, half day, Wednesday, because there's so much absenteeism. Teachers also would like to leave early, but they can't if it's like that. The community prefers 10 days off for winter to relax, visit family, and such. Make changes in small increments. So if we're moving towards a perfect calendar, don't try to do everything at once. So make a couple of changes per year. Starting school before Labor Day should continue. Teachers who respond to the survey are significantly more in support of starting before Labor Day. The community as a whole was slightly in favor, but I think a lot understand why academically. Also, if teachers start in August, they would like to be paid in August. And then about the teacher-directed time. Anyway, communicate about the work days. What's the point of those? And let's see. So just the comments on our website. It's 252 pages long. You get to see lots of comments. But as one student said, nothing good happens in June. I prefer to start earlier, end earlier, and have more breaks. And another said, stay calm. So thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate the fact that you did that survey. It's very helpful. Mike Nee?
Good evening. Today I'll talk about the architectural and electricity contract. As a CPA with 20 years experience in finance, I read our most recent financial report, 2016. There are 3 things catch my attention. First of all, our school board has to maintain the budgetary control to ensure all the procurements are made following regulation, all the contract awarded in a fair, transparent way, and to prevent any excessive and abusive waste of capital resources. The second item is, on page 11, I noticed that our school board has a decimal fiscal year last year, lost $673 million. That is the continuation of another $700 million in the prior year. So we must do something to rebalance the budget. The third thing is, on page 15, buildings and building improvements contribute over 75% of our net capital, our capital assets. So we spent hundreds of millions of dollars in capital renovation, capital maintenance, repair, utilities, and equipment. So I propose our school board need to do a hard look of all the spendings, especially to take some creative, painful, sometimes inconvenient solutions to contain the budget, contain the spendings. I think one way, meaningful way, is to use the contract of electricity and architectural design to achieve that goal. I propose 3 suggestions to you, especially for our contractor engineers to suggest. Number one, to optimize our lighting. I heard from teachers and even employees that some rooms or offices have over 12 lights. It's hurting eyes, hurting the bill, and hurting the planet. So engineers do a survey and to get rid of the excessive lighting. Number two, adjust our thermostat by 1 degree. Many times I heard students complain the room was freezing cold in the summer and sweaty hot in the winter because we overburn the air conditioning or the furnace. So adjust 1 degree adjustment, we can save at least $20 million utility bill. Lastly, I want our board to consider install the smart switch. Now we can use iPhone to switch on, switch off the home appliances. Why not we ask our engineers to do the same thing at the school buildings? Because use smart equipments, we can prevent unnecessary lighting, unnecessary furnishing, and air conditioning. So all in all, I include board to take a hard look of the issues I mentioned, and we can rebalance budget, and we can right-size the architectural and electricity equipment, and also, most importantly, reduce our carbon footprint. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is George Becerra.
Good evening, Dr. Braven and school board members. I'm here this evening to talk about Regulation 2240.6, mainly Section 10, Parts A and C, which took effect July 6, 2015. First of all, just in case I run out of time, I'd like to thank Ms. Corbett-Sender and Ms. McLaughlin for meeting with me and offering this as a future forum topic. I'd also like to thank Ms. Darren at COFAX and Mr. Wilson taking time to speak with me also on this matter. Parts A and C of this regulation limit joint custodial parents who do not have physical custody, mainly fathers, ability to be more involved in their children's academic progression. The request of something simple like a weekly folder sometimes is not an option. Folders include school news, but more importantly to these fathers, their child's academic work that they could relate to during visitation times. Part C states, it shall be the responsibility of the enrolling parent to furnish general information to the other parent of the student. The principal, at his or her discretion, may grant requests to provide separate copies of such information to a joint custodial or non-custodial parent on an ongoing basis. Reasonable charges for postage and photocopying shall be borne by the parent requesting this information. First of all, there's an assumption that the two parents are collaborating together. Second, at the principal discretion usually means the principal saying no, these fathers have learned. Also, even if the principal allows it, the teacher might say no. I constantly hear how FCPS talks about a caring culture, and I hope this unintentional consequence may be changed. When fathers often are told that they can't do this or their school can't do this because of resources, when they offer to pay for these services a copy, they are told no. Or they are told that if they do this for this particular parent, they have to do it for the whole school, and it takes time away. Some teachers try to barter and also will ask these parents, well, if you come in and do it for the whole classes, I will do this for you. I might say a very unique way of getting volunteers involved. If the principal has the power of this issue, maybe Mr. Dade and other regional assistant and superintendents can get involved. Maybe ask if this is a policy or how much percentage of these kids can have. Also in terms of Title I schools, if you're talking about parent involvement, parent engagement, how does that affect those type of schools? These parents are not looking for a policy change where all the joint custody parents get this because they understand resources, but for the ones who want it and request it. Dr. Brabrand, when FCPS offers future Dad Matters classes, maybe like the one on January 24th, on top of teaching these dads their rights, maybe they should also be told the obstacles they may be faced and how they can best advocate for a solution, because I'm always looking for a collaborative effort here. Thank you very much. And on the calendar, I haven't looked, but I'm assuming for umpty-ump years that the Veterans Day is not going to be a holiday, so I hope the board will look at that matter in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kathleen Mallard.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Mallard. Thank you, Board and Superintendent Braband. Monday evening, I attended the PTA advocacy meeting, which I appreciated very much. There was concern about the looming budget shortfall, the need to identify sources of funding. I did not hear much about saving money, how to avoid costly initiatives such as renaming schools, and reduction of wasteful spending on outside consultants, for example, Battelle for Kids. Another big expense is the expense of the human expense on the Family Life Education program. The current Family Life Education curriculum can be traced to a perverted sexologist, Alfred Kinsey, who manufactured studies that greatly inflated harmful or deviant sex practices, making them seem common or normal and therefore acceptable, including adultery, homosexuality, bestiality, and most tragically, pedophilia. The Playboy Foundation, founded by Hugh Hefner, launched the pornography industry based on Kinsey's studies. Hugh Hefner, along with Margaret Sanger of Planned Parenthood, helped fund the Kinsey Institute, SIECUS. The SIECUS, Sex Information Education Council, has as an objective to teach Kinseyan ideology directed at elementary and secondary school children. The FCPS Family Life Education Program has the SIECUS imprint all over its sex education curricula. Do you see how this has worked out? Most egregious of all, Kinsey, Hefner, and Sanger brought harm on the culture and civil society by the sexualization of children. Kinsey's abuse of 300 children for his studies remains an unaddressed injustice to this day. On November 3rd, Dr. Elizabeth Payne, the FCPS FLE coordinator, was on a panel discussing teen sex trafficking. I attended that as well. She seems to understand the connection between the FLE curriculum desensitizing kids, removing their natural modesty, and the subsequent grooming activity of predators. Many of the current and tragic problems facing our children, drug use, trafficking, sexual harassment, STDs, suicide, depression, teenage pregnancies, are exacerbated by the FLE's sex education curriculum. In addition, the promotion and acceptance of contraceptives, alternative forms of premarital sex instead of abstinence, and marriage may well be a factor with today's sexual harassment problems. If women and sex were respected and understood as important to a healthy and prosperous family and civil society, it might lead to a healthy and prosperous next generation. So an alternative FLE focused on this could well be a solution, and FCPS has a moral duty to report these unpleasant truths. FLE, the sex education program, needs to be cleaned up. It gives tacit approval to immoral, unhealthy, and unsafe sex practices. Focus on the creation of a productive academic learning environment. Promote abstinence and risk avoidance as the best methods with zero infections. Thank you very much. I hope that you will be able to replace a faulty curriculum with something which will truly safeguard our children, and I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is Student Representative Matters. I call on Ms. Vedakonda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this Monday, I met with the Student Advisory Council, and we had the chance to meet with Mason District delegates afterwards with Mrs. Evans. And a big issue that students brought up was the calendar. All of them, or the majority of them, have expressed an interest in having that 2-week early start, because especially for AP and IB exams, which are set at the national date, having those 2 weeks before kind of ensures that you won't be covering the 1970s the day before the AP history exam, which is especially helpful for kids who don't want to stay up all night studying for an exam that's worth a lot in terms of when it's counted for final exam grades or for college credit. And they also expressed that sometimes after AP and IB exams, there's this period between that and the end of the year where they're not really doing anything that is relevant to the curriculum. It just feels like there's a lot of filler work, and I think that we should do our best to reduce that amount of time, but if not, really focus on seeing how we can make that project time valuable and meaningful to prepare them for the next year, either through college and career exploration for especially our juniors and seniors, or for more structured academic programming. But all of them expressed an interest in making sure that our teacher pay issue is solved, because they did express an interest in starting 2 weeks early, but none of them wanted to go forward with that if we cannot pay our teachers in August, which I definitely stand for. We can't really move forward with moving earlier if we can't pay our teachers on time. And this is a little biased because I am a senior, but having the 2-week earlier start means that the school year would end like the first week of June. So then our seniors would get out at the end of May, which ensures that we're not kind of shortchanging them on that last break and gives really our seniors a good chance to relax after 4 years of very difficult academic pressure. But I do understand the community concerns that we can't move forward with going 2 weeks earlier for the school year ahead. So I am in support of this current calendar, but I would really urge all of you to consider having that 2-week early start in the 2019-2020 calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, confirmation of action taken in closed meeting. This is the portion of the meeting where the board will confirm any action regarding issues that were discussed in the closed meeting. These issues may include action taken regarding student disciplinary matters. Board members have discussed each individual case, and at this time will make several motions to confirm the recommended action. First, I will call on Ms. Corbett Sanders for a motion.
Thank you, Chair Strauss. I move to grant in part the school reassignment appeal of a student who possessed and used marijuana on school property. And that's it.
Second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Evans, actually. You're coming. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, it is Evans, Wilson, McLaughlin, Palchak, McElveen, Corbett Sanders, Strauss, Duranek Koufax, Keys Gamara, abstention, Ms. Hines, and Mr. Moon. Okay. Next, I will call on Ms. Duranek Koufax.
I move to deny the school reassignment appeal of a student who possessed and used marijuana on school property and to confirm the disciplinary decision of the division superintendent.
Second. Seconded by Ms. Hines. All those in favor? Okay, that is Evans, Palchak, McElveen, Strauss, Moon, Hines, Duranek Koufax. Opposed? Wilson, Keys Gamara, abstention, McLaughlin, and Corbett Sanders. That motion passes. I will call on Ms. Corbett Sanders for another motion.
I move to deny the school reassignment appeal of a student who brought a controlled substance to school with the intention of distributing it to other students and to confirm the disciplinary decision of the division superintendent.
Seconded? Seconded by Ms. Keys Gamara. All those in favor? Okay, that is Evans, Palchak, McElveen, Corbett Sanders, Strauss, Moon, Hines, Duranek Koufax, Keys Gamara. Opposed? Abstention? Wilson, McLaughlin. Thank you. That motion passes. I will call on Ms. Keys Gamara.
I move to deny the school reassignment appeal of a student who committed a number of SR&R violations, including assaulting another student, and to confirm the disciplinary decision of the division superintendent.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moon. Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is unanimous. Thank you. Next, I will call on Ms. Duranek Koufax.
I move to deny the school reassignment appeal of a student who committed a number of SR&R violations, including assaulting school staff, and to confirm the disciplinary decision of the division superintendent.
Seconded by Ms. Corbett Sanders. All those in favor? Evans, Wilson, McLaughlin, Palchak, McElveen, Corbett Sanders, Strauss, Moon, Hines, Duranek Koufax, Keys Gamara. So it was unanimous. Great, thank you. That motion passes. And next I will call on Ms. Palchak.
I move to deny the school reassignment appeal of a student who committed a number of SR&R violations, including assaulting school staff, and to confirm the disciplinary decision of the division superintendent.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moon. Thank you. All those in favor? That is Ms. Evans, Ms. Palchak, Mr. McElveen, Strauss, Moon, Hines, Duranek Koufax. Those opposed? Corbett Sanders, McLaughlin, Wilson, Keys Gamara. That motion passes. Thank you very much. And that concludes that part of the agenda. Thank you. Next is our consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Many items listed have gone through board review, and documentation has been provided to all board members and the public in advance. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member prior to the meeting. Seeing no request, I will continue. 6.01, approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2017 regular school board meeting. 6.02, authorize the division superintendent and the assistant superintendent, Department of Facilities and Transportation Services, either of whom may act without the other, to take all actions necessary and appropriate in consultation with legal counsel for the school division to pursue approval of proffered condition amendment applications for the combined McNair Elementary School site, including negotiating, signing, and submitting the final proffer statement and any other documents on behalf of the school board. 6.03, approve the grant of easements to the county and authorize the chairman or vice chairman, in consultation with legal counsel for the school division, to take all actions necessary and appropriate to negotiate, execute, deliver, and administer deeds of easement and any related documentation. 6.04, authorize staff to negotiate professional services contracts with selected firms for architectural design of capital construction projects, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer contracts on behalf of the school board. 6.05, award a contract for the Annandale High School roof replacement project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, R.D. Bean, Inc., in the amount of $488,785, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 6.06, approve the titles listed for kindergarten through grade 12 mathematics as recommended by the Mathematics Basal Instructional Materials Adoption Committee and the Selection Advisory Committee. 6.07, award a contract for the Marshall High School Modular Relocation Project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Pinnacle Construction, Inc., in the amount of $1,762,000, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 6.08, appoint individuals to serve on committees as detailed in the agenda item. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda?
Just a point of order, Madam Chair.
Sure.
I think in item 6.03, we should clarify which school is affected by those easements, just for the public, so they know where this easement. I think there's nothing to indicate what school.
I guess I would ask Dr. Brabrand, is there any clarification?
I believe it's South County, but
It is
online,
South County,
but
okay.
I just want to make sure that
All right.
in the record that it shows that it's South County.
And I guess a question from staff, is there anything else to be added other than it is South County? That's fine? Okay, we can go on.
It is in there in the attachment.
It is in
says
the
South
attachment.
County.
It's just not in the consent agenda. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Any other suggestions? No objection, then the consent agenda is approved. I call on Dr. Brabrand to introduce the FY 2018 mid-year budget review.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Strauss. We're glad to be here this evening, and we're going to give you an update around the mid-year budget review. I have Ms. Michael, the Assistant Superintendent for Financial Services, here, and she'll be sharing with you a brief overview.
So thank you so much. Before I begin this evening, I really want to acknowledge the outstanding work completed by our Office of the Comptroller, led by our Comptroller Shaquille Youssef, and also the Office of Budget Services, led by Alice Wigington, who's here this evening. Without all of their hard work, this wouldn't have been possible. So tonight I'm going to present to you our FY18 mid-year budget review. It includes the final year-end and audit adjustments from FY17. Following tonight's presentation on Monday, we do have a work session. So first I'm going to talk about the school operating fund, and we'll begin at the top of page 1. So the first item, FY18 beginning balance, is increasing by $3.8 million at midyear, and that's due to expenditure and revenue adjustments made after the FY17 final budget review. And that adjustment is primarily as a result of insurance proceeds. So when we look at that overall revenue, we received $3.1 million in insurance proceeds related to the storm in 2016. So as you'll remember, previously we received a reimbursement from FEMA. So after that reimbursement was complete, now we've received this insurance adjustment of $3.1 million. The other items included in this beginning balance adjustment include additional sales tax revenue as compared to what we projected of $0.9 million, an increase of state aid of $0.1 million, and then additional expenditures of $0.4 million. So all of those combined together result in this increase of $3.8 million. So also included in the revenue, in addition to beginning balance, in item B, we have an adjustment to our City of Fairfax tuition of $0.2 million. That's based on the final bill, and that's the variance between what we estimated at year end and what they finally paid. So that's an additional $0.2 million in revenue. Then the last item is our grant adjustments. As we do each year at midyear, we recognize the actual grant awards. So we're receiving an additional $1.5 million in revenue. That's primarily due to IDEA, or Individuals with Disabilities Education Act funding of $1.5 million, and then a slight decrease to our Carl Perkins grant for career and technical education. So all of those together increase our revenue by $5.5 million. So if we move to the top of page 2, we look at our expenditure adjustments. So we have the corresponding expenditure increases for that grant revenue, again for IDEA and Carl Perkins in item 1, or item A. When we move on to items B and C, you see B is savings of $0.1 million and the reduction of 1 position due to the elimination of our Chief of Staff position effective February 1st. And then item C is savings of $0.2 million and the reduction of 1 position due to the elimination of the Assistant Superintendent of Equity and Innovation. Moving along in item D, we have tuition sharing and reimbursement. This is an increase in funding of $0.3 million. So to support our teachers and to prioritize those in our bachelor's degree lanes, we have funding to support a master's degree cohort program and tuition reimbursement. The tuition sharing cohort program will provide our teachers with an opportunity to help get an expedited master's degree and move from our bachelor's lanes to our master's lanes. Or through tuition reimbursement, they can also receive support for classes that they're taking as they're trying to obtain their master's degree. Again, priority will be given to those teachers on the bachelor's degree lanes, but these programs will be open to all of our teachers. Then in item E, we have placeholder funding of $1.1 million. This is for the school board's future consideration for teachers on the bachelor's degree lanes whose salaries are above the top of the market and the top of our salary scales for teachers. This placeholder funding would be sufficient to provide a 3% bonus to teachers on the BA lanes from step 19 till the top, based on the FY17 salary scale, or of course could be used for the school board for any other option to address those employees' compensation. If we move to the top of page 3, in item F, we're recommending setting aside $4 million for FCPS on, as presented to the board in a previous work session. Our implementation plan to implement FCPS on, or our one-to-one technology devices for high school students, included a request for $10 million in one-time funding to initially purchase those devices. And this $4 million would go towards that item. So we're asking to set that aside now, pending a future implementation of this strategic plan priority. Then our last expenditure adjustment, item G, is a reduction in the radio set aside. As you may know, our Transportation and Facilities Department has been working with county staff on identifying lower cost options to replace our bus radios. So at this point, we can recognize an additional $1 million in savings, and we will continue to pilot those solutions. And once the final technology has been identified, we'll come back and recognize any additional savings. So the result of all of those expenditure adjustments is $5.5 million. So if we move to the top of page 4, this is a summary. You can see that our revenue increased by $5.5 million and did our expenditures. So that leaves 0 additional funding to set aside. And right below that, you can see that we currently have $24.2 million set aside for our FY19 beginning balance. On page 5, as we do each year, we provide the board with an enrollment update at this point in time. Our official enrollment for general education is as of September 30th, and we had 656 fewer students than we had projected, and that's a difference of 0.4%. Official special education, non-traditional programs, and preschool, all of those enrollment counts come later in the year, as noted on this chart, and those updates will be presented to you as part of the third quarter budget review. So the last item in this agenda are our other funds, and they begin on page 6. Each of those funds does include the final adjustments for year-end activity and our audit adjustments, and I'll just go through and point out some significant items. In our construction fund, I'm very pleased to say that we have completed the grant for building the second school at Fort Belvoir, so you'll see an expenditure decrease of $2.0 million for that. In our grants and self-supporting programs fund, as we do each year, we recognize new and revised grant awards. In total, those reflect a decrease of $2.3 million, and there is a detailed chart included on page 7. In our health insurance fund, as a result of the adjustments from year end and our updated revenue projections for calendar year 18's health program, which impacts our fiscal year 18, the net impact of that is that our premium stabilization reserve is increasing by $2.6 million. Finally, ERFC has their final interest adjustments that occur after year end due to that timing, and I'm very pleased to say that that results in an increase in funding of $34.3 million. So again, we have a work session scheduled for Monday where we can discuss any questions on this agenda. In addition, as part of Monday's work session, we have the implementation plan for Justice High School, and any adjustments, including the use of the flexibility reserve, could be included with mid-year action on December 14th. So thank you for the opportunity to present this to you this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Michael. It's always done so well. We will have this on our agenda at our work session on Monday, where there will be time for extended discussion, but I have several board members that I think have clarifying questions now. So first I will call on Ms. Polchak.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Michael. Always a great presentation. I look forward to the discussion Monday, but just had a couple of clarifying questions. Number one, on the tuition reimbursement, I know it was mentioned earlier this evening that we are limiting, I know, at least one program to George Mason, but will the reimbursement be open to any program that teacher chooses? For instance, UVA is only $500 a credit for teachers. So
sure. So when we look at the tuition sharing cohort program, you're correct, that is a program with George Mason, but the tuition reimbursement would be available to any university that our teachers would choose to enroll in.
Okay, wonderful. And remind me, is that program beginning this year, or is that one a little bit later on?
So with the board's approval of this item as part of mid-year, we would like to begin these programs for the spring semester. So pending board approval on December 14th, we would start our communication plan so we could get the word out so teachers could start taking advantage of it this school year.
Okay, perfect, wonderful. And then the other clarification is for the assistant superintendent position. While this is for this year, I know I want to ensure that we are still funding that work under Dr. Duran. So wanted to see what this means and where that budget will come from to ensure that there is a true office for equity.
Sure. So you are correct that we are eliminating this specific assistant superintendent position, but all of those responsibilities have been added to Dr. Duran, who was previously our chief academic officer, who's now our chief academic and equity officer. So I can assure you that that work will continue.
So at some point, and I guess this might be for Monday, I'd like to know if we are actually the money. It's great to save money, but I want to ensure that we are funding that work and not just seeing a full savings there. So I'll bring that up on Monday. And then finally, I haven't had my meeting minus tomorrow with you and Dr. Raybrand, but I do have some concerns and hope we can discuss a little bit more about the BA lanes. Just as we heard from the FCCPTA that parents have said, work slowly to get to the ideal calendar. I agree, the same thing. Let's work slowly to get to the ideal salary lanes. Thank you.
Ms. Corbett-Sanders.
Wow, it's great following Ms. Palchik tonight because I echo many of the comments that she has made. I too am glad to hear that the tuition reimbursement will apply to other schools besides George Mason and allow for online classes. That's especially important for some of our teachers that have family concerns, and online is a wonderful way of doing that. The comments regarding the Office of Equity are also very important, and we want to make sure that we have funding in there to not only staff that office, but also create the benchmarking that we so look forward to having. Regarding the enrollment, bravo to our estimators. 0.4% is certainly within the margin of error in most instances, and so I think that we should point out that yes, it might be short 656 students, but in a population of 189,000, that's pretty amazing. I look forward to seeing what the breakout of those students are, because obviously if it's just one student here or two students here, then that doesn't really help us have economies in our overall budget. And so people should understand that there is, when you look at that small of a difference, it's hard to realize real savings. And finally, I want to send out a thank you to our design and construction team. Saving $2 million on the construction of a world-class facility such as Fort Belvoir Upper is pretty amazing. And for those that are interested in that, it's a pretty amazing thing because they built that school on a Department of Defense military base, and it was FCPS being able to oversee the design construction of that building that realized the $2 million. And so bravo, and thank you very much to Mr. Plattenberg and his team for all of their great work in that area.
Thank you. Ms. Derenak Koufax? No? Ms. Hines?
Yeah, I wanted to also bring up what Ms. Palchik brought up, which is if we just take all I think it's almost $250,000 for the position, the equity position that we've been hanging on to, and then we asked Dr. Duran to sort of double his workload and the workload of his office, which is, maybe not exactly what will happen, but seems clear to me that we're going to need some funding to fund support in that office for his work. So maybe you could tell me, Ms. Michael, how would we go about making sure that happens in this budget review?
So I think the first will be on Monday. We can have a more in-depth conversation on how those functions and tasks will be carried forth. Should the board wish to provide additional funding to support that effort, right, we could make a modification to this mid-year budget when it's adopted on December 14th to reduce the amount of funding that we set aside for one of these other initiatives and increase the funding to support equity.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. And the only other thing, eliminating the chief of staff position. We haven't eliminated the person in that job, right? So how is it that we're saving money?
So we're saving money. Our chief operating officer is retiring as of January 31st. So our current chief of staff, Marty Smith, will become our chief operating officer on February 1st. So that's how we'll save from the chief of staff position.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Following up on the issue of, there's been referencing tonight about Office of Equity. As the person who was the liaison to the Minority Student Achievement Oversight Committee to the school board for the last 2 years, that was a recommendation 2 straight years that they asked the school board and the school system to have an Office of Equity. Montgomery County Public Schools has an Office of Equity with 8 full-time positions, as last reported. And as I understand it, yes, Dr. Duran will have that as part of his title and responsibility, but I would say, Dr. Brabrand, for Monday, based on the comments being raised by multiple board members tonight at the dais, I think we really need to understand what this is going to mean in terms of intentionality. We have great programs like Project Momentum and Closing the Gaps that we've gotten updates on in the past, but there really hasn't been a mapping out that said, okay, beyond giving Dr. Duran as a leadership team member this sort of additional responsibility, but what does it mean structurally? So I wanted to reinforce that point because I know that in prior years, Dr. Brabrand, we weren't just talking about having someone on the leadership team with that focus, but actually what does it mean in terms of bringing all the programs together under one office? And multiple people have talked tonight about Office of Equity, but I don't know that you've actually gotten there yet. And so even if you guys aren't, that's okay. You know, we're not asking you to create something between now and Monday, but I think it's important that there be clarity for the board and for the community on what we're going to do with this.
I appreciate, if I might, Chairman Strauss, board member concerns. I've met with Dr. Duran. We first talked about this announcement, and he did talk about wanting to have time to reflect on his organization and look at additional resources. We've not been there at a time to be able to deliver that for the mid-year budget review. His review is ongoing. We're looking at what we can do. You're going to see continued updates around things like Project Momentum and other things that we're doing in work sessions over the next few months. Again, we have a true commitment to equity. We're taking the time to thoughtfully and deliberately go through what it is that we need and what Dr. Duran needs in that office to move forward. So I do promise that we'll return to those issues and make sure that they're fleshed out for the board prior to our budget year for next year.
Yeah, I would say that while we may not necessarily have information by Monday, but we are talking about the next fiscal year. And in order for the board and you as superintendent to have that outlay for FY19, we're going to have to, even if it's a placeholder of funding, to determine whether or not we're going to do something more than just collectively bring programs in a way, because the public, even our stakeholders who want to then have more direct interface with what we would hope to see as an Office of Equity, if we don't have it housed under one place, people can't access it and understand it and really collaborate with us on that. The other quick question I had when people were talking about the enrollment estimates being revised and the 0.4% because it was a differential of 656 students. I just was kind of curious, how many had we projected we thought we were going to have this year? How many, new students? Because what you're saying is, so 656 is how many students we net gained, correct?
No. So when we look at our projection for this current school year, we projected we would have 169,279 students in general education from kindergarten through grade 12. Our official enrollment as of September 30th had 168,623. So we were 656 students fewer than what we had projected.
Right, and I was asking the question a different way, which is that we know what we had from the last school year, then the projections were how many new students would we net gain. And I thought that, so if you're saying that we net gained 650, we ended up being off by 656, but what were we off of? What was that projected number? And I'm not talking about the total number, I'm talking about we had projections that said we thought we'd have this many new students, and instead we only had this many new students, and that's a different percentage.
Correct, and I'll get you the exact number on Monday,
okay.
But we were projecting growth somewhere between, I think it was between 1,400 and 2,000 students in total. So what I would say is, while we came in below projections, we're still growing, but we're growing at a slower rate than we were projecting. So our overall students is still increasing as compared to the prior year, just not increasing by as much as we had projected.
No, I understand that. And one of the things that's been brought up in the past is just in terms of our projections and then what that does to our budget, because as you can appreciate, at the end of every budget deliberation, this board agonizes over $500,000 here, $1 million there. And so 656 students there would have been,
Correct. So at the beginning of each school year, we actually start this process. Human Resources leads it under the direction of Dr. Chase Ramey. We start looking at our projections as compared to our actual enrollment at every single individual school level. And we go through, starting in the summer, working all the way through the fall, and we look for where we have fewer students than we projected and how it impacts staffing. So if a school, say, originally was projected to have enough kindergarten students to generate 5 teachers, but their enrollment was coming in below projection and they only needed 4 teachers, we would then move that teacher position to another school where perhaps their enrollment was coming in higher. So we do a school by school and actually a grade and class size review starting in the summer, working all the way through the fall. And as part of the Goal 3 report, you'll receive a report that looks at how those reserve positions, how many positions we took back from schools that were under their enrollment, and then how many positions we gave out to schools who are over enrollment. Right? So sometimes if you're projecting students, you can be under or over your projection and it won't change the number of teachers that you need for that grade level, but sometimes it does. And we carefully review that on a school by school basis, beginning in the summer all the way through the fall.
So I'm just, again, looking at what we provided in tonight's presentation. I think it is on like page 5, where it was the FY enrollment update.
Correct.
So am I not seeing here what that financial differential means?
So we're just showing you the difference in terms of the number of students. What we do is whenever our students are above or below that projection, right, and it impacts staffing, we adjust that staffing utilizing the staffing reserve, right? Then each year during the Goal 3 report, we report back a report to the board about how we utilize the reserve for that year, and we actually give you a summary total, and then we show you on a school-by-school basis where positions were either added or removed. So that'll be part of the Goal 3 Premier Workforce report that comes to the board.
Right, but on Monday, I guess what I'm just trying to get a sense of, because I appreciate the update, but in terms of a mid-year budget review, is it then showing cost savings because we ended up having 656 fewer students?
So as a result of this enrollment variance, when we look at a school-by-school basis, there's no overall savings. When we look at the reserve, we have fully utilized the positions in our reserve, both for adjusting for enrollment, being above or below projections, but also addressing class size. So even though our students did come in lower than projected, there's no savings related to that in terms of the number of positions.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I'll see if I can get some of the questions I was concerned about.
Sure.
And get them to you over the weekend. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much. At our work session on Monday, we will have an opportunity to discuss this more at length. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Michael. Okay, the following new business agenda items. There will not be a vote tonight on these items, but action is scheduled at a future meeting. The next item, 7.01, approve revenue and expenditure changes reflected in the FY 2018 mid-year budget review as detailed in the agenda item. 7.02, award the contract for the carpet and floor tile installation and replacement contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidders, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute and administer such contracts on behalf of the school board. 7.03, that the board, 1, approve the granting of perpetual street easement to VDOT for the above described property at George C. Marshall High School, subject to VDOT's approval of roadway improvements to be performed by others. And 2, authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent, Department of Facilities and Transportation Services, either of whom may act without the other, to take all actions necessary and appropriate in consultation with legal counsel for the school division to negotiate, execute, deliver, and administer the deed of easement and any other related documents on behalf of the school board. 7.04, adopt the 2018-2019 standard school year calendar. Next, superintendent matters. Dr. Brabrand.
Thank you, Chairman Strauss. I just have a couple of things this evening to share with you all. Architecture Incorporated, the architecture firm that designed the renovation for Terracetta Elementary, received an award of excellence in the Capital Improvements Institutional category from NAIOP, Northern Virginia, which is the Commercial Real Estate Development Association. There's about 950 members of that association in the Northern Virginia market, and its goal is to advance responsible commercial real estate development and also advocate for public policy. And FCPS and Rinker Design Associations partnered in the renovation. The TerraSet project was one of only 2 school projects to be recognized. So we're really proud of TerraSet and the work that was done to make that such a wonderful facility. We've also been recognized as a certified green school division by the Virginia School Boards Association for 2017. The district earned platinum certification for accumulating green points for environmental policies and practices. FCPS was one of 14 districts earning platinum certification, the highest designation awarded by the VSBA program. And I have to share with you, I made some comments tonight to Ms. Donahue, who helps me develop these, and I go, my goodness, facility stuff just keeps coming up and up. And her answer was, Dr. Brabrand, well, of course, because the awards keep coming and coming for a job well done at both the local, state, and national levels. So we really are proud of the work that our facilities folks are doing and the recognition that we're getting for it. I also want you to know I am holding my final community conversation of the fall next week on Monday at Luther Jackson Middle School. The meet and greet begins at 6:30 with a brief presentation, and then there's question and answers from 7 to 8. I've really enjoyed doing each of the regions, and I will be hosting one more community conversation in February or March for folks who maybe weren't able to attend any one of the regional meetings, and I'll be getting that information out to you soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brabrand. I believe we have no committee reports tonight, so we'll begin with board matters. Ms. Keys-Gamarra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. I am happy to report I had my first office hours about a week ago, and there was a line out of the door. So I was happy to chat with folks in the community. And I also had an opportunity to participate in the Fairfax Council of PTAs, where we had an opportunity to talk with folks from a couple of districts as well. So I really enjoy that interface, and I look forward to more opportunity to do that.
Ms. Darren Colfax.
Yes, thank you. Also, a shout out to the Fairfax County of PTAs for organizing the meet and greet for us, the panel and questions, and I think it was a good opportunity for us to meet leaders, not only in our community, but countywide. So thank you for doing that and organizing that. That was a good event for us. And also thank you to the members of the Virginia House of Delegates and Senate, and also, I believe, legislative aides from some of our federal delegation came as well, coming to hear about our school board's legislative priorities. We look forward to working with you in the coming weeks. We don't have a committee report, but I'll give you a preview. I think the SCIPT committee has come up with an excellent strategic plan that will be evolving and moving forward on early child care. And I'm sure Ms. McLaughlin will update us at the next time we have committee reports. And finally, due to a medical issue, the lady that has been taking care of me and Mr. Moon in the school board office left, retired after, I believe, 15 years in the office. She took care, 12. She took care of me for 6 of those years. So, Miss Joanne Kinney, I hope you're not watching, but thank you for all that you've done, keeping me together and organized. And a big welcome to the new lady helping our office, and Miss Angela Petro. If you haven't met her yet, she's going to be amazing, and we're excited to have her. So thank you.
Ms. Hines?
Yeah, thank you. I was thrilled to be at South Lakes High School last Friday evening with Mr. Moon here for the jersey retirement for Grant Hill. He was a South Lakes High School student, and I think several people said that night that he may well be the most celebrated and perhaps the best athlete ever to come out of Fairfax County Public Schools, maybe. He certainly is the pride and joy of South Lakes High School. Yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the Washington Post article, but it says he's still a restin' kid, and he really was. When we watched him walk into the gym, he was mobbed by current basketball players, little kids, former teammates, former classmates. It was like homecoming there. And he's just such a generous and nice guy. He ended the evening down in a classroom with the basketball players for an hour or so, answering their questions and just having a chat with them. And it was just so Grant Hill, I think. So it was wonderful to celebrate him. Also, it's already been said, I was able to attend the Fairfax County Council of PTA's meeting at Gatehouse advocacy meeting on Monday night, and it was great to see so many PTA leaders there. Thank you so much to all those who came out. I learned a lot. Also attended the Rest and Opportunity neighborhood. We call it Rest On, and it's a wonderful. It's an opportunity neighborhood model where we are bringing schools and community and parents and everyone in the Reston community together to support kids. And it's just wonderful to see all those leaders in one room, business leaders as well. Just talking about how we can work together better, pool resources, communicate better to be serving our students and their families. I want to especially thank Cornerstones. It's a wonderful organization in Reston. It used to be called Reston Interfaith. And I mean, basically, they make all those community wheels run smoothly by providing these opportunities for us. And finally, again, I would also thank our legislative delegation, which is our state legislative delegation, which is headed down to Richmond next month. They were here meeting with us on Tuesday night and hearing from us, and we heard from them. It was wonderful to see them. If you're interested in what happens to the school systems, to schools and public education in Richmond every year, it is a whirlwind. It's a couple months of just fast-moving action down there, January, February, and things move very quickly. And so if you want to advocate for your schools, I recommend that you take a look at the school board has on our website our legislative program. It's pretty exhaustive. We just voted on it at our last meeting. Gives you an idea of the positions that the school board supports on behalf of the community. And any one of us, your school board member, will be very happy to help you to know what's coming in Richmond and how you can get involved in having your voice heard down there to make sure that we are well represented this year. Mr. Moon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was really happy to be with Ms. Hines at South Lakes. Not only did I get to see the wonderful celebration for the accomplishment of Mr. Grant here, but I also got to have a picture taken with his father, Mr. Kelvin here, who played for Dallas Cowboys. And Mr. Elder here was a Rookie of the Year when he played for Dallas Cowboys. I forget exactly which year because 1969 Yale grad, so must be 1969 or 1970. But younger here, Grant here, was Rookie of the Year when he played for Detroit Pistons. So you get that father and son, two Rookies of the Year, one for football, one for basketball. Wow, how often do we get to see that? Quite an accomplished family. And talking about football, I'll be going down to Hampton University to watch for 3 years in a row Westfield playing in the state championship game. And the last 2 years, Westfield played against Oscar Smith from Chesapeake, and Westfield High School won 2 years ago in third overtime. Last year in the second overtime. I'm not necessarily looking forward to watching another overtime this time, but as long as Westfield wins, that should be all right.
Yes, we'll take things out of. We'll call you, and then I also have Ms. Fedekande has an announcement.
No, I appreciate it. It is my mom's birthday tonight, and since we are ending a little bit early, I'm going to go celebrate. But want to thank my colleagues on the FCCPTA for all they've done to send out the surveys, to gather information, and to really show leadership in hosting the Advocacy Day this week. And to our teachers and our associations for advocating for the calendar and for salary lanes. And also this Sunday, I believe some of my colleagues will be joining me to be guest readers for the special ed PTA, the SEPTA day at Barnes & Noble. So I believe I'm reading at 2:15, a bilingual book or two, and hope to see all of you there for this great cause and for some holiday shopping. So thank you to everyone and have a great weekend.
Great, thank you. Ms. Vetakonda, you have some greetings with some of our young people who are in the audience.
Yes, I do, actually. Jeffrey Schneider from Troop 158 and Nash Hoover from Troop 1577 are both here earning their citizenship and community merit badge. So I'd like them to stand to be recognized. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much for coming, and thanks, Mom and Dad, for bringing them. We appreciate that. Next, Ms. Corbett-Sanders.
Thank you. Everybody, I echo everybody's comments and appreciation to the FCC PTA for their wonderful advocacy night on Monday evening. I thought it was very successful and created a great opportunity to dialogue between parents, organizations, and ourselves. I also appreciated the time that our delegation spent with us on Tuesday night, and on Wednesday, the Board of Supervisors recognized the Inclusive Schools Week and SEPTA, and that was something that I enjoyed being with Ms. Keys-Gamara at that event. It went off very well. Want to send out a thank you to the Fairfax City School Board for hosting us last night for a wonderful evening and created an opportunity to dialogue between the two boards, as well as the Fairfax Association of High School Principals. It was a wonderful opportunity to start off the holiday season and spend some time with the high school principals, as well as appreciate the time that Rolling Valley and Mount Eagles principals have spent with me this week. This weekend is going to be a really full weekend. For those people that are interested and looking for a great employment opportunity with Fairfax County and Fairfax County Public Schools, as well as the Sheriff's Department and other organizations in the Route 1 area, we are hosting, or actually they are hosting at the Bethlehem Baptist Church, a job fair from 9 to 3 on Saturday, and I encourage people to go by and take advantage of it. As well, I will be joining a number of my colleagues at Barnes & Noble on Sunday afternoon. And for those people that can't make it to Barnes & Noble but want to support the SEPTA cause, there is an online link, and I sent that out in my newsletter. So I would encourage people that if you can't make it to out to Fairfax, please go online, buy your books from Barnes & Noble, and support SEPTA. Thank you.
Mr. McElveen.
So I'd like to join several of my colleagues in also offering best wishes to Joanne Kinney. Many people might not know that Joanne was actually the official keeper of the archive of compromising photos of school board members. And I'm very hopeful that she has transferred that archive to one of our clerks. Okay, they're shaking their head, so that's good. Because I know she had quite a collection of Mr. Moon photos. So look forward to perusing that one day. But farewell, Joanne. We wish you all the best. I, too, would like to thank our legislators for coming out on Tuesday, as well as our new group of school board student leadership development program participants. And I know all of us look forward to working with them over the next few months as they engage in the exciting work of watching us meet and also participating in their own meetings.
Ms. McLaughlin?
I definitely want to echo how much we enjoyed Dr. Brabrand, the High School Principals Association reception. Many of us who joined the board together in 2012 remember going to Mount Vernon and having a lovely reception with the principals way back when. And so this was really a wonderful reminder of how much we enjoy spending time with them. And I want to thank Principal Matt Eline of Robinson Secondary School, who leads the association and came up with the brainchild again of, bringing us all together. I know you want to say something.
If I could just say real quickly, we've started to have some initial discussions. It was a lovely reception, and we're going to find additional ways to help bring staff, our school leadership, like our principals. We have our middle school association and our elementary association. We also have folks out in our schools and central offices, and I really feel this was an opportunity that awakened me to how that we can let our school folks get more connected with school board members on a more regular basis, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. We're going to look at additional opportunities for that kind of engagement.
It was a great time. For those of you who weren't there, I took out my iPhone and took a bunch of pictures. Ryan, you weren't there, so it was for me to step in your shoes. So I will be sending those out to Principal Matt Eline so he can send it out through his association, but then I'll send it to all of you to enjoy because they were some really great photos. I will just say, Ms. Hines, you will enjoy the photo of Greg Hood and Matt Ragone mugging over Greg Hood's photo on some brochure on, I guess, achieving equity or something, and his beautiful pictures on there. And so they were just really lighthearted, and it was a good time. And then many thanks to the City of Fairfax School Board. Their gracious hosting of our board for the annual December dinner was really a nice way to not only spend time with them, but to all of the LT members who were there as well. Too often we spend a lot of time with all of you guys buried in numbers and reports, and it was really nice to see everybody in a more social setting, and you could just feel how much people had a chance to really sort of enjoy the relationships that I hope we get to have more time doing. And then I do want to thank the FCC PTA as well for their Advocacy Day. This is the first time they've done something like this where they brought together the school board members, board of supervisors, their members, panel discussions. This was their first time, and they've talked about ways to maybe refine it so that there's more Q&A and dialogue between the PTA leaders who came for it. And I do want a special shout out to Bob Gaylord, who's one of my constituents in Braddock. He was sort of the brainchild to help bring this together, and it really was quite a success. So please, Beth, to Dan, pass that along to all of your officers. We appreciate that investment and time with all of us. I wanted to also let my colleagues know that I'm working with a couple of our staff. 3 FCPS staff members and I went out to Loudoun County Public Schools to see a play called A Will to Survive. And it's a play about a family that lost their child to suicide, but it's done as a School of Rock type play. And so it's set to music, and it's really a way to help all young people understand that it takes a village for us to look out for one another, to recognize signs. But all of the actors in the play all struggled with those suicidal ideation experiences at one point or another. And so they're phenomenally talented. But it's something that now, as a result, the Connor Strong Foundation, after a young man that we lost at Hayfield High School, the father and grandfather have reached out to Supervisor Cook and I to want to sponsor bringing the play here in the spring. And so that's one of the things that they've already been talking to the school, and I just had the meeting today, so I'll visit with both Ms. Corbett-Sanders and Ms. Koufax about that, since you represent Hayfield. Dr. Brabrand will talk to you about that as well. But it's just it's a lovely thing. And then I just wanted to sort of say we have some tremendous athletes that come out of Fairfax County Public Schools. No doubt Grant Hill was one of the finest. But in a little bit of spirit of competition, I do want to celebrate another one. Andy Heck graduated Woodson in 1985. He was an all-around athlete on the basketball and football team, but went on to be part of the national champions for Notre Dame football, and then went on to play 12 seasons with the NFL, and was quite the scholar athlete in the day. And so we are very fortunate that a lot of talent comes through the halls of Fairfax County Schools.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to thank everyone who came out to my office hours this week. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll have office hours again in January. Second, I'd like to just take a moment to remember that it was at this time, 76 years ago, that the United States endured the attack on Pearl Harbor. And I would just like to just recognize all of the servicemen who serve our country and many who give their ultimate price of their life. And in the case of Pearl Harbor, there were over 2,000 military that were killed and another 68 civilians in addition to thousands of others injured. On a more optimistic and positive note, and current athletic prowess in our Fairfax County schools, I'd like to talk a little bit about Westfield High School, which I think is, they are producing the latest round of outstanding athletes out there in Westfield. First of all, the women's field hockey team won the Class 6A state championship recently with the perfect season. And the high school, their high school football team is returning to the state championship after an undefeated season for the third time in a row. In somewhat of an unusual circumstance, they are playing the same team for the third time in a row, Oscar Smith. So if anyone has the time, please come out and support Westfield's High School Saturday at 4:30 at Hampton University. So great shout out to them. Congratulations to those young men and women. It is an extraordinary accomplishment to win a state championship. And so I would say that maybe we have the best athletes in Fairfax County today.
Ms. Evans?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say how much I enjoyed meeting with the students, the Mason District students on the Student Advisory Committee on Monday, and it was a great conversation, and I appreciate them meeting with me over lunch, and I want to thank Colleen Eddy and Craig Perrier and my EAA, Kathy Partlow, for organizing that. I also will add my voice to the appreciation for the FCC PTA organizing its very first advocacy day. It was a lovely evening, and I appreciate the people from Mason District coming out and the conversation that we had at the end of the evening. And also to the High School Principals Association, that was a great event, and I think it's great that we're thinking about doing more of those. I would very much look forward to continuing and building on that. I appreciate being invited to judge the Poetry Out Loud contest at Thomas Jefferson High School, and just some superb performances by the young people who will go, one of whom will go from there to a regional and perhaps a state event as well. And beyond that, I am looking forward to the Region 2 listening tour next week, and hope that many people from Mason District will join us here at Luther Jackson for that.
Okay, back on November 28th, we had our first joint school board, Board of Supervisors meeting, officially kicking off the budget season. And I want to thank and congratulate Kristen Michaels, Susan Quinn, all of the people that worked on the presentation, Dr. Braybrand that worked very closely with county and school staff. It was an extremely productive meeting, and we had excellent staff work that we, for the first time, really presented together the projected needs, projected revenues, and sort of the baseline from which we will work together as two boards to fund our schools and our government. So both the Board of Supervisors and the school board had a lot of very positive things to say. So congratulations to staff and everybody that worked on that. Lastly, I would like to congratulate the Highlander McLean High School's newspaper. They were honored with a Pacemaker Award at the National Scholastic Press Association Journalism Education Association Convention held recently in Dallas. The Highlander is one of just 26 high school newspapers and magazines nationwide to warn the Pacemaker this year, and the only one in Virginia. McLean High School students also earned top honors in the organization's Story of the Year contest. For their article, Beyond Gender, Sri Medikarta and Melanie Pincus received 4th place in the nation in the feature story category. And for their Finding Refuge article, Helen Bloom, Carolyn Cranking, Sanskriti Nippon, and Aisha Singh received 4th place in the nation. In the Diversity Series category, Lindsay Benedict is the advisor for the Highlander. This has been, the Highlander at McLean High School has had many awards over the years through a number of very talented staff at McLean High School. Again, the only school to be recognized in Virginia. So hearty congratulations to McLean High School. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.